This was a national security briefing, and I cannot say who was there, but I can say there were only about 20 of us, and it was military, counterintelligence, civilian, various departments of government,
yes.
Retired and not retired.
Okay.
And it was presented by Steve Coughlin, who is a leading expert in the United States on Islamic doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot about Islamic doctrine in this security briefing because there has to be to give a basis.
Okay.
And he's a former consultant to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and also our friend and frequent guest, former FBI agent John Guandolo. These two work together.
Yes.
They go around the states and they try to give talks to groups to inform them. Okay, so I'm going to go, and I have a lot to say. You stop me, I will stop. Okay. Here's what I took away. Our country is really at risk, and it's really far worse than I thought it was. And I'm talking about stealth jihad. I'm not talking about the war in Afghanistan. I'm talking about stealth jihad here in the United States. Now, here's the Islamic doctrine part. Islamic doctrine makes it very clear that Islam is in a perpetual state of war with the non-Islamic world. We may think that we are not at war with Islam, but Islam is at war with us.
This would even include the so-called moderate Muslim groups?
Oh, I will get to that, but really there are no moderate Muslims. We are losing this war, but most of us are clueless because this is stealth jihad. It's a slow, steady invasion into every single part of our life. Just think about what's going on. Think about what you talked about earlier this morning, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And our government refuses to define the enemy. So I'm going to define it. We're at war with Islam. They're winning. Islam defines itself as a comprehensive way of life, social, political, military, cultural, governed by Islamic law. There is no Islamic law that does not require jihad, that is, warfare against non-Muslims, until the world is claimed for Islam. Now, we spent 3 hours going over Islamic doctrine, okay? Okay, so from this, I really no longer consider Islam a religion. I'm sorry, not in my country.
What is it then?
I consider it a political movement. Think Nazi Germany. I'm not kidding. This is not a Mrs. Fred reaction, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is a common sense reaction when you figure out what they're doing. Yes, the Muslims want to subdue us. They want Sharia law. They want us to submit to Islam. And if we do, we're toast. And if we don't, we're toast. So we have to resist together big time, but we have to be informed first.
So
about the moderate Islams.
Yes.
You know, the moderate.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go anyway.
Okay.
Go ahead.
While there seem to be a number of people who identify themselves as Muslims and who have moderate worldview, authoritative Islamic doctrine and the leaders of many Muslim nations, to include our allies, Turkey and Jordan, have stated there is no moderate Islam. There is no radical Islam. There is just Islam. And the Quran dictates total submission to Islam worldwide. This is what good Muslims have to believe in and operate under. A moderate Muslim cannot exist. They kept saying that.
All right, let me
briefing.
Well, what about the Muslims who live up the street from me, who go to a mosque, I assume? You know,
all right,
and they don't bother me one bit. I talk to them on a regular basis. They're nice people.
They're the nicest people in the room.
Right.
They are the nicest people in the room. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Muslim Brotherhood is run by terrorists in suits. The same people who brought you Hamas and CAIR and Al-Qaeda, and the same people who are running the 2,000 501c3s with the name Muslim on them, and it never says American Muslim. It will say North American usually. Most of these organizations are hostile to us, okay?
Let me ask you something about that, because we talked about this over the weekend. I wanted you to make this point. As you obviously you know, our daughter is a Middle Eastern Studies major.
Yes, education.
What about the education through established academic means at all the campuses around the country? How is that message being gotten out to people like our daughter?
Well, if it's Middle Eastern Studies, okay, there too, I'm told that all college Middle Eastern Studies programs are funded and controlled by terrorist Prince Al-Waleed bin Talal of Saudi Arabia. This is the same guy who tried to give Mayor Giuliani after 9/11 $10 million, but Mayor Giuliani told him to shove it. Okay. Now, the one exception to this is Columbia University Middle Eastern Studies program, but that's controlled by the Iranians.
Okay.
I double-checked that because of, Little Miss Fred's involvement.
Okay.
Anyway, the moderate Muslim just cannot exist. So all that verbiage from Imam Rauf, who wants to spread peace with the Islamic Center, and that's another thing, the Islamic centers, 2,000 or so more than that, I think, Islamic centers and mosques all over our country, okay, and saying, oh, we're spreading peace and this and that and the other thing. I mean, according to the doctrines which I looked at, and I can't tell you which one, but I just remember seeing them all up on the screen. And this is, I mean, you can kick the tires on this. Some of the people did, at this meeting. According to this doctrine, these Islamic centers, when the final jihad comes, these will become battalions. Now, Ryan, I know you have friends who are Muslim, and okay, I do too. Actually, I have some not real close friends, but acquaintances, and they are very nice. Okay, so the deal with the moderate Muslims, I was told is you cannot be a moderate Muslim and believe in the Quran. One contradicts the other. So either they're delusional, okay, according to what I learned, or they're in denial about what the real deal is with Islam.
All right, well then let me ask you to translate. Obviously you don't speak Arabic, but I know you talked about this. We are led to believe by Faisal Rauf and others that Islam is a religion of peace and submission. Now,
no, peace means total submission to Islamic
law. That's my point. I think we look at it from the point of saying they will submit to our laws, our culture.
No, they're winning the war with deception. They're telling us Islam is peaceful, and they're plotting our demise as we reach out to them. I'm not kidding. That's what's happening.
So that is the stealth part of jihad. They're telling us one thing, but they really mean something else.
Yeah, but they're everywhere. It's not just what they're telling us. They're everywhere.
Okay.
They have invaded. Okay.
All right.
They have invaded